All right, what's going on? We are going to talk about developing empathy and resilience. It is lesson 5.3. On the right side over here, you will see there's only 5 vocab words for this lesson. It's not too bad. Identify the benefits of empathy. Take steps to become more empathetic. Explain the value of resilience and demonstrate skills to build resilience. Okay, so that is the learning outcomes of developing empathy and resilience. Okay, the importance of empathy. So over here it talks about empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Okay, so essentially it is your ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Okay, something happens to a person that you're talking to, or you see something happen to someone, and instantly you can just like feel it. You can feel the pressure or the negative feelings, sometimes maybe even positive feelings of what is happening to that person. You start to feel that too, and that empathy is what might drive you to stop that situation from happening. If somebody just walks in with their head down, maybe they don't have a lot of friends or something like that, and then a group of people come over and start shoving them against the wall and throwing their backpack on the ground or something like that just because they think it's funny. You would be able to see that situation and put yourself in that person's shoes and just feel how it would feel to be attacked like that, kind of nonsensical manner. Just had the unfairness of it all. You would actually feel that yourself, even though it's not happening to you. That is an empathy. Okay, you can put yourself in someone else's shoes, even in other situations where somebody might just disagree with you on something. Could be smaller than something of that nature. But you can feel that. Okay, that is overall that's empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Okay. So here an example is when they see somebody might cry when they're watching like a fictional character in a movie or something. It's because they have empathy. It's like they see it happening to the character, and if it's well done enough to where it feels believable, they might feel that empathy, start crying. 2 types of empathy. So cognitive empathy, ability to see the world from another person's perspective. Emotional empathy is ability to experience the emotions another person is feeling. So cognitive, it might be a little less connected feeling, but you kind of see what that person is saying. You understand what they're saying in their point of view. Where emotional, you're actually like feeling it yourself, that sadness or that stress that person is feeling. Building empathy. So it's like a skill. It's like shooting a basketball. It's like riding a skateboard. Learning how to do penalty kicks or whatever it might be. Learn how to write. Building empathy kind of takes practice. All right, here and right there, they list some different strategies to help you build empathy. Actually, no, I'm lying. That is people with empathy. These are characteristics. These are characteristics listed here that somebody with empathy would have. So if you have empathy, you ask questions to clarify what other people are experiencing. So you're constantly asking questions, being engaged with that person. Show care and concern about other people's feelings. Put themselves in other people's shoes and really see what the world from their perspective. So those are characteristics of people with empathy, not ways to build empathy. So building empathy. Some people naturally have more empathy than others. For example, maybe you always have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. On the other hand, maybe you have always struggled to see the world from a different person's perspective. Empathy can also change depending on a person's life experiences. Fortunately, no matter your natural tendency or life experience, you can take steps to increase your empathy. Some strategies you can use include the following. So strategies for building empathy are actually these. Okay, and it lists them. Pay attention, listen well, value diversity, read a book. Okay, it lists them and then it gives a little more detail and examples of each one. So those are all ways you can build empathy. Okay, learning to pay attention, being a good listener, value diversity, and I believe we talked about diversity in the last lesson. read a book, because they talk about the different viewpoints that you're going to see in books. Okay, that's kind of what they mean by that. And read through that yourself. I don't really have time to do it. I only have 15 minutes for a video. The next thing we're going to talk about is resilience. It's the ability to recover from traumatic and stressful events. So somebody that has resilience, if something bad happens to them, it is their ability to just keep going, okay? Many of you may have lost a family member or a loved one, or a very valued pet, or just had something really tough. Some people, their parents might not be able to live with them for various reasons. They, different things that are, pretty difficult situations to get through. Maybe you had a family member go into the military, so you haven't got to see them very much, whatever it may be, okay? Resilience is the ability to get up the next day and just keep going and do what you were going to do, no matter what, okay? And that's tough for sure, but there's ways to practice it. There's it's going to list some characteristics down here, which are kind of relate to some of these strategies in which you can improve your resilience, and a lot of it's going to be your outlook and your mindset, which we talked about in the last lesson. Okay, so resilience is one of those things where all those crazy things happen, the world's going. If the world doesn't keep going, and it's hard because sometimes you feel like you don't get to cope with a loss long enough, and expectations are that you're either back at work or you're back in school or what have you, and it just feels like the world has stopped, but at the same time, everything else is still, all the gears are still turning, factories are still going, people are still working, expectations are still there, all that stuff, 9 to 5s, all that's still there. And resilience is the ability to keep going, even through those tough things. So characteristics of people with resilience: ability to make plans and successfully carry them out. Sense of control. Control is a huge thing over personal actions. You do have a lot of control in your life, whether you think so or not, etc. Keep reading through that yourself there. Those are characteristics of people with resilience, and how you can identify someone with resilience, how you can look at yourself and see that if you have resilience or if there's things that you can work on to improve that. Okay, building resilience. I said that this would be coming, and here it is. Maintain relationships. That's one. All the ones that are in red here, that's how they're listing these. Embrace change. Practice self-compassion. If you embrace change, that's a big one. Understanding that things will be different. And just trusting in yourself. So if you trust in yourself and your abilities, and you know that you've, over the years have been able to learn new things. You learn to write. You learn to go from being at home until you're 5 years old to coming to school every day. You learned maybe to drive a car instead of riding the bus. You learned how to drive a car yourself and operate on the road. Your life is always changing, and you think it's going to stop. You think you're going to get a job, you're going to get a house, and that's it. Nothing's going to change. But man, it will. Promise. It might change a little bit slower. Change might come every 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years instead of shorter instances. But change is going to happen, and you got to be ready for it. And just know that, trust in your abilities to learn whatever you have to do, whether it's a new job, etc. Just know that you can learn that job. You're going to go through your training process probably, but once you get done, you are going to be capable of doing that. Okay, embrace change. Practice self-compassion. I think this one's weird, okay, and this is why it might be kind of confusing. You have practice self-compassion, and then you have take responsibility, okay? So these are tough because they kind of contradict, and they seem like they might contradict. Practice self-compassion is kind of like, it's not your fault, okay? You can't, beat yourself up over this because sometimes it's just the way it is. However, take responsibility is kind of like putting a little blame on yourself sometimes, but there's a good balance, okay? You got to just be honest with yourself. So practice self-compassion. Some people blame the negative events in their lives on themselves, their weaknesses, their perceived inadequacies. They think long and hard about those bad outcomes and beat themselves up over failures. Not surprisingly, this type of self-criticism makes it hard to be resilient and feel better. Yeah, it's just kind of like if you're being down on yourself and you're not being positive, obviously it's going to be hard to feel better and get out and do stuff, learn new things. Sorry, I keep losing this. You can't. Obviously, if some things are out of your control, you can't. You can tell yourself that you will do better next time. It's okay. Like, well, I might have messed that up, but I know that I can do better. Okay? Whether it's a bad score on a test, what have you, you go back to the drawing board and think, what could I have done differently to improve that score? Or what can I have done differently to make the team? Or, what could I have done differently so that my parents didn't get furious at me and ground me, whatever it may be, okay? So practice self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up. Just think about what you could either do better and understand that sometimes it's just the way it is. It's not your fault. You might have gave it your best effort. If you didn't, what could you do to improve it next time? So that's self-compassion, whereas... and it's like I said, it's understanding. Okay, understanding even when you experience setbacks and disappointments, that things will get better, and sometimes it's just a little out of your control. Take responsibility. Okay, and here's we're going to talk about some strategies for practicing self-compassion. Take responsibility. That's one of those things where, did I get out of bed in time? Should I have set an alarm? Did I stay up and watch movies and Netflix and play video games? Understanding why you might be coming up short. Taking responsibilities. It's not, if you get grounded because you got an F, or let's say you're not going to be eligible for your football game this coming weekend because you weren't doing your homework. You can either blame your teachers and blame your coaches, or say the tests and stuff were too hard and that the expectations were too much, or you can take responsibility and just get the work done and understand that you did it wrong. You shouldn't have let the work pile up, whatever it may be. You should have studied. That's taking responsibility, and you're going to have to do that now and through the rest of your life, because if you don't take responsibility, you're not going to grow. And it's pretty obvious when people aren't doing their job and kind of pulling their own weight. So you got to be able to take responsibility and be honest with yourself when you're not giving a full effort and what you could do better. So back to self-compassion. You can treat yourself the way you would treat a close friend or a sibling. Some of you are pretty rough on your siblings, but hopefully you're not. Be mindful of negative self-talk. Every time you say something bad about yourself, think about it. Like, why am I saying this? That's inaccurate. That's not fair. Think of something better to say about yourself. Remind yourself that experiences are normal human experiences. Not everybody succeeds every time, Something they go back to all the time is how Michael Jordan didn't make the varsity team when he was a sophomore in high school, I believe. It might have been freshman, but I'm pretty sure it was sophomore. So that was a failure. LeBron James is, I think, 3-9 in the NBA Finals, but he's still one of the greatest players in basketball. So he's not winning every time, all right? He's going to have failures. Sorry to use basketball so much. It's just I'm a basketball fan, so it's what comes to mind. You can relate it to your own situations however you want. So those are practicing self-compassion. You can't be a perfectionist, okay? Looks like that's pretty much it. If you have questions with this stuff, obviously reach out to me. The big thing is just you just read through it. It won't take you too long. Read through this stuff. Answer the guided reading that goes with it. And if you can't find a certain answer, shoot me an email, shoot me a Canvas message, or ask me in person if we're at that point. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.